How you doing? This is Sean McVay with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and this is a hunting video. But if you're the type of person that only likes to see kill shots in your hunting videos and doesn't care about or want to hear anything about family, life, death, anything religious or spiritual, please don't watch this video. Please. Today is November the 11th. And it is the last day of the regular archery season here in Pennsylvania. I'm currently about 3 hours or more away from home. My uncle passed away. My Uncle Dennis, love him very much, God rest your soul. Just went to the funeral and luncheon with the family. And now I'm headed to my friend John Thomas's house to do a little hunting. I really would like to have gotten my buck on public land this year. I had some really good encounters this past week. Almost got a nice 8-point. I would have got him if I wasn't trying to video him and I was trying to quick get the camera in position and he saw me move. And then had another nice 8-point that I couldn't get the camera on. It was again on the wrong side of the tree, and I was like, I'm not making that mistake again. I'm just gonna wait and see if this buck comes in, and he did not. He was even bigger. And then I had a little 6-pointer go right underneath me, not what I was looking for. I would like to get at least a 3.5-year-old this year. So even if I see a 2.5-year-old tonight, I don't think I'm gonna shoot unless, you know, some strong something comes over me that says shoot. Or if it's like seriously injured and I don't think it's gonna make it anyway, kind of a thing. But so I'm gonna hunt my buddy's place tonight because that's the only place I really know of that I could hunt down here this far away from home. And I also have a doe tag for this management unit. So, you know, I would rather get a buck, but if it's the very end of the hunt and doesn't look like a buck's gonna come, I will take a doe and share the meat with my buddy and see what happens. Lord Jesus, let your will be done today. So I got to my buddy John's, and those of you who are new to my channel, I actually mentioned John Thomas in my book, Becoming a World-Class Hunter, A Bow Hunter's Spiritual Journey. So he's no stranger to my life, my videos, and all that kind of stuff. And I actually met John working at French Creek Outfitters down in Phoenixville area of Pennsylvania. So being down in that area was bringing a lot of those memories back. And you know, there was a big, strong theme just in going into this hunt of family and friends. This is a suburban hunt. So John owns about 13 acres of land, and there's areas of his property that funnel between other properties. So I'm sitting on the edge of John's property in one of the funnels, and some of the footage you're gonna see here is actually the backyard of the neighbors. You're actually going to even see like a jet ski they got parked all the way back there. I mean, the house is way up in the front of the property. I'm nowhere near the actual house, but I am near the neighbor's property. And to my surprise, the only deer I ended up seeing during this hunt came through the neighbor's property, and when I first saw it, was back in the middle of his yard. And I got a little footage of it when I first saw it. There was a really pronounced deer trail on the one side of the tree that I was in, and I had basically set myself up planning to shoot deer on that trail. That's the trail that they very often come on. And if the deer came in on the other side of the tree, I would have no shot basically because of all the foliage. Well, this deer ended up turning and walking straight at the tree I was in and was directly under me on the side of the tree where I didn't really have a shot. And I did want to just spook the deer. The camera was facing the other way, and it fed right out past me in underneath of the foliage. At one point in time, I finally got the camera over and pointed it at the deer. I had 2 or 3 very small openings in the foliage that I could shoot through. And the deer was standing broadside in the one opening. I had the camera pointed at it, zoomed in, but the camera was much lower than my head, and you couldn't see the deer at all from the camera. So I ended up passing. And after about 10 minutes or so of it feeding under a tree, it finally stepped into the one other opening I had. I zoomed the camera in on it. I hit the record button on the video camera, and I've been having problems with this remote. It actually started recording. Here's the video clip right here of where it started recording, but somehow it actually turned itself back off. I think something is sticking in the record button. So I hit record. I saw the record light come on, and then I went and I focused on making my shot. I made probably the most absolute perfect shot you could ever imagine. And it was a really awesome scene because the light up knock was really bright going through, because it was close to the end of the hunt. The deer runs about 30 yards and piles up, and I get all this video footage of that, and then I look down and it's not recording. So at that point in time, I thought maybe it didn't start recording at all. In real time, there was so much going on in my head, I didn't remember that whole part. So here's me right after I discover that the recorder wasn't recording. I just smoked a doe and I didn't have record on. Right there's the arrow. Okay, so I just got down out of the tree, and it was the only deer I saw tonight. It was a doe, and I was sort of praying, God, if you want me to get a doe, how about some good light here? Let that happen. I wanted to share the meat with my buddy who's let me hunt here, so this all works out. Let me pick up my gear. The arrow's right over there, about 20 yards, and then we'll walk over here about 20-30 yards. The deer barely went anywhere, so let's go check her out. Wow, so here's where she was standing, and woo, she was an immediate gusher. Holy smokes, there's blood all over the place. These are what I call my Jesus arrows. While I'm walking over to deer, let me just tell you, this was a fun hunt because I was in the tree for about 3 hours, and I was texting back and forth with John periodically. He's like, catch any deer yet? And that's like one of my pet peeves. Like, I can't stand it when people say, did you catch any deer? Or did you catch a deer? It's like, no, but I did shoot a deer. You know what I mean? This is like, you don't catch a deer, you harvest a deer. So it's usually people who aren't really into hunting and are trying to show an interest, usually say that. So we had this long text message back and forth about catching versus harvesting a deer. And so when I harvested the deer, I said, doe down, come on out. And I get down, I'm walking over to the deer, and I'm thinking, where is John? Why isn't he here? And eventually he calls me. He's like, what's up? I'm like, oh, I just got to the deer. He's like, you got a deer? I'm like, yeah. The text message I sent you was, doe down, come on out. So anyway, he eventually shows up. Heart shot, baby. That was a wicked blood trail right there. Beautiful deer. What's up, bro?
Killer.
Got it done, man. We're gonna have some deer meat.
Get good footage?
Actually, my remote failed on me, so I hit record, but it never actually recorded. So, first deer that I've had that happen to me in a long time. Huh. Nice sized deer.
Yeah. Probably, older, that for sure.
Yep. So there's the exit hole. And entry right behind the shoulder there. Perfect. Praise the Lord. Let me get my tag. Get the tag!
Bro, we got a problem.
What?
This was my neighbor's pet deer.
Oh no! Well, I just want to thank you, John, for letting me come hunt today, and I want to kind of dedicate this deer to my uncle, who we just celebrated his life and death today. My Uncle Dennis Sr. Just was thinking about him a lot during this hunt and appreciating him. So that's all. I just wanted to say that real quick. So there's a couple things that was going through my mind really while I was in the stand throughout this hunt. And one was, John sees some decent bucks on his property, typically during the rut. They show up and travel through looking for the does. But as I sat there, I was like, I really wanted to shoot my buck on public land this year. And if I would have harvested a buck there, I just wouldn't have felt as if I earned it. Because, like, I mean, the day before, I literally hiked over 1.5 miles and sat in 20-degree temperatures with 30-mile-an-hour winds. It was very brutal. And I was very sick, actually, from that hunt, just sitting out in that cold. And I didn't see a single deer. And here I showed up at John's, for the funeral, I stayed over at my brother's, and I didn't have scent elimination soap, so I'm bathing in all this perfumey soap and stuff. And when I got to John, I asked his wife, I'm like, smell my hair. Does it smell real bad still? She's like, no, it's because, so I didn't have a scent elimination shower. I didn't walk for a mile to get to my spot. I walked like 150 yards or whatever. And normally I have to pack all my clothes in my backpack and put them on once I get up in the tree because it's such a sweaty walk in. Here, I just put all my clothes on at the car. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I was like, if a 3-year-old buck walks by, I'm going to shoot, but I just won't feel as if I earned it. So there was part of me that I would be disappointed if I got a buck there. So it was a good eye-opener. It's like, okay, in the future, just if that's the way you feel, don't hunt for a buck in a place like that. In this situation, it was the final day of the season, so being 3 hours away, that's what I had to do. But there was part of me that was really actually hoping to fill my doe tag because I didn't know if I'd have any other chance to get down there in that management unit. And the other reason why I really wanted doe is because I wanted to give the doe to John. He hadn't got a deer. He didn't get a doe tag this year. And when I was talking to him afterwards, he's like, this is great because I was thinking I might have to lower my standard just to get some deer meat and shoot like a 2.5-year-old if one comes by. But now, he's like, now I can hold out and wait for something bigger. And, I released some videos earlier this year where I was inviting Lee and Tiffany Lukoski to come hunt out here and Michael Wydell or the Bone Collector people. And a lot of people misunderstood the whole message of that. The message of that was, I just wanted to give a realistic perspective to the viewing public of like these people who are out on these, farms that they set up. That's great, and they can harvest these big deer. But if they come out and hunt the mountains, they're not going to be passing on a bunch of 4-year-old deer. They're going to be like lucky if they see a 3-year-old, and that was the point. But I'm not opposed to like holding out for something older. In fact, I passed on, even though it was going to be the end of the season, a day or two before, I had a 6-pointer underneath me. I just wasn't interested. I wanted to, for my home state, I wanted to harvest a 3.5-year-old, on public land. And that opportunity hasn't presented itself yet. And so now I'm going to take my bow and put orange on and go out in gun season and try to get one. And, I've already proven this year when I shot my deer in Maryland that you can be on all orange and harvest a buck. But anyway, here's the bottom line of this video. And I was praying to God. I'm always praying to God and asking for His will to be done. I typically use the prayer of Jesus when he was in the garden at the end of his life and he was like, Father, take this cup from me, but not my will, yours be done. So that format is you ask what you want, but then you offer to God to do whatever He wants above and beyond what you want. So I would say, God, please let me get a nice buck, but not as I will, but as you will. That's always my prayer going into the tree stand, every time. But I also ask, God, what do you want me to learn here? And what's your message? And in this situation, I had double camera failure. I had a brand new camera. It has a different record button, and I had a glove on because it was cold. It was like 30 degrees on this hunt. I hit the button, but I couldn't feel if it registered or not. So I'm hitting it, trying to tell, and at this point, I was like, I don't have time to take it off and try to, do this and that and put it back on because it's not easy to get that thing on and get it just right. So I was like, all right, well, that's out of the picture here. And then the remote on my other video camera got all fouled up. So I said, God, what's the point? And the point, really, what I felt He was saying is, the message of this video is that your family and your friends, your relationships with others, is far more important than a kill shot. Because that's what was happening. I just spent all this time with my family, celebrating the life and death of my Uncle Dennis. And then I got to be with John. John was the best man in my wedding. And I don't get to see him that often because we live far away from each other. So those are the things I take with me when I die. It's those relationships. When you're in Christ, when you are a follower of Jesus and you allow him to guide your life to heaven, then when we pass away, that's where we go, as long as we are in a right relationship with him and we are doing what he asks for our plan and for our path in salvation. And when we're there, we're all together. Obviously, we're going to all be praising God while we're there, but we're all going to know each other. Our relationships are still going to be intact. And we won't have any of the bucks, any of the does, any of that we shot while we were out hunting. So the message here, folks, is just remember, the most important thing is your family and friends. And I recorded a separate video, and I might air it, I don't know. But right when I came out of the funeral, I recorded a video. I struggled during the funeral with myself because I kept thinking about hunting as I was also praying with my family, and remembering my uncle's life. There was like a tension there. When you're obsessed with hunting, like many of us are, it can be a distraction. It can be always there, even when you don't want it to be there. So I was trying to pray during the funeral service, and I was thinking about hunting and things like that. And it was, I didn't appreciate that. But that's something we all have to deal with. We have to keep it in its place. So when thoughts of hunting would come into my head, I would sort of just hand them to God and say, look, thank you for the gift of hunting. I want to stay focused on praying for the family and thanking you for my uncle's life and different things like that, praying for my uncle to be at peace. So as you go through today, my encouragement to you is to look at your relationships with others and look at your hunting. And what's the most important thing? Where are you putting your energies and efforts? Make sure you don't overdo it with the hunting. Make sure that you are giving your love and attention to those relationships as well. And you can find a harmony and a balance with them because, within the context of this hunt, I was both hunting and spending time with family, just putting them in the right place. I spent the night before and that morning with my family. And then I did some hunting in the afternoon, and then I spent time with my friend John. I was able to bless his family with the meat. So everything was good. And, and I'm going to say this too. We took that deer and dropped it off at the butcher's, and I process all of my own deer. It's a lot of work. And it was really nice to just be able to harvest a deer and hand it to somebody else to deal with. And in this situation, John's going to be benefiting from all that meat, and I'm very excited about that. It was a good sized doe. But man, those of you who don't process your own deer, it's a whole different world when you do. So if you haven't done it before, maybe help somebody do it sometime, because it'll give you an eye-opener as far as what all is involved, and hunting can be a lot of work. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you tuning in. The archery season in Pennsylvania is now over, but my hunting is not over. I still have my buck tag in PA, and I'm going to keep working at it. When I get time here and there, I'll even go out in Orange with the guns in gun season with my bow and see if I can harvest a buck. And I still have a buck tag for New York in gun season, and I still have my archery buck tag in Maryland. So I'm going to try to get to those states a day or here and there to see if I can harvest an animal there. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, take care and God bless.